And we're back. I'm Mia Zachary, and this is Elemental Abundance. Casual conversations about quantum thinking and ways that you can use the universal laws to create a life you love. I am here at the Village Connector Community Studios with two of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Renee Canali, my kite string and spiritual guide, and Garnes, my business partner and my soulmate. And we've been talking about struggle. But this is a kind of different conversation because what we're proposing is that there's actually no need to struggle at all. Renee, I would love to come to you for this to start us off because you embody, embrace, and encourage other people to see the land of possibility. Everything in your life, and slowly but surely mine because of your wonderful influence, is about and. So is life really about struggle or easy? Or is there another way to look at things? So I'm in a situation that is not what I want it to be. I'm in a job I hate, or I'm in an unhappy marriage, or you know, I want to take a trip to the Seychelles, but for whatever reason, I don't think I'm able to go. So it's not, you know, necessarily a physical struggle. It's this internal struggle, which I see as being basically the difference between what I want to be is and what actually is.
For me, the land of possibility means that struggle happens in life. Struggle doesn't happen in life, and anything in between. When you go through a day, there's usually a period of time where, you know, your heel gets caught on the door jamb, or the gas gauge says you're almost out of gas and you're in a rush, and, you know, but overall it doesn't seem to affect you. But then there are some days where even before you wake up, you're already determined, you know, if you will, to have a bad day. So you get up, you're tired, okay, I'm not gonna hit the snooze button, and you smack your leg on the edge of the bed. And then you cuss all the way to the bathroom. And then you drop things because you don't want to turn the light on because you don't want to wake people up. And then they wake up, and then they have an opinion.
Has this happened in your house?
Yeah, this sounds like it's happened.
A really long time ago.
Yesterday.
It doesn't happen that often anymore. But it happens in people's lives, and what I do, the way that I look at things is I can wake up in between any, you know, the bad and the good, if you will. I can wake up with an I can't attitude. Oh my God, I can't believe it's time to get up. I can't believe that I can't believe this. Or I can wake up and say, I'm not ready to get out of bed. I can lay here another minute. I can hear the birds outside, and it's actually kind of pleasant laying here to listen to it. It's a very different feeling, and it sets the attitude that you go through your day with, or at least it sets the attitude to begin your day.
Okay.
And when things happen in between, it's really a matter of, you know, asking yourself, is this really an I can't thing? You know, is there something about this that you can't do anything about? And my answer is there's always something you can do something about. You can either move out of that situation, you can change something about the situation, or you can change the way that you look about the situation.
So it's about choice. It all comes down to choosing how you're going to view the things that are occurring?
In short seconds, yes. you choose as you move through. But really, the choice is made before you go to bed at night and reinforced when you wake up in the morning. This is the type of day I'm going to have. It may include other things, but at the end of the day, when I look back, I'm going to say, I had that kind of a day. That's what's possible after you have a chance to work with this, to watch it happen sometimes, to take those micro steps. It starts to automatically build a pattern for you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. You know, we've known each other for about 2.5 years now, Glenn. And the one thing that I really, one of many things that I really admire about you is in all of the time I've known you, I don't think I've ever seen you struggle. You have just always the best. No, really.
You do not pay attention to what goes on around
maybe
here.
I don't. Maybe I don't. But you have the best attitude about things when they happen, and I'm so grateful to have you as a model in my life. You know, because that's what I'm kind of striving for, is to get to that place where you seem to be. So is it that you don't struggle, or is it that you don't see it as a struggle?
I would say it's the latter, because it's not a matter of whether you're going to encounter situations that are challenging to what you would have desired to happen. It's a matter of what your response to it is. And that's very much a choice that we make. It's almost as if we have the ability to develop a mindset that if our mindset is that we're going to find the good in what's happening around us, you have to know that you can make that choice. You know, there's a quote, I don't know who came up with this, but what happens to you happens for you. Most people consider things happening to them because they've been taught to embrace victim mentality. It's easier for us to think we don't have any control over what's going to happen, therefore, you know, it's somebody else's fault, someone else's responsibility. It certainly isn't our responsibility, and there's nothing we can do about it. But what we do have control over is how we choose to respond, how we choose to view it, how we choose to deal with it. One of my favorite mentors, Jim Rohn, who you've heard me talk about incessantly, had a way to describe what it was like to be experiencing life. And what his counsel was that life is like being in a sailboat, and the same wind blows on us all. But it's not the blowing of the wind that matters, which is what's happening in life, you know, the drama, the media, what's happening around us. It's the set of your sail. And so life is about learning how to set a better sail for yourself. So, you know, you're really learning how to sail.
So if I was going to sum that up in a little bit shorter, are you talking about going with the flow?
Not so much going with the flow, but learning how to use circumstances and things that happen along your path to your advantage rather than seeing them as a disadvantage. When you're sailing, if the wind is blowing, if you know how to set your sail, you know how to take the wind in the direction, or use the wind to take you in the direction you want to go,
Even
rather
if
than
it's a
just
zigzag.
drifting.
Okay.
Right, rather than just drifting because you don't know what to do. If you're in a sailboat and the wind is blowing and you don't know how to sail, then you're kind of subject to wherever the wind wants to take you. But if you understand how to work with your circumstances, another good example of this is that, you know, I can't remember where I've heard this, but people make money in the stock market regardless of whether it's going up or down. The only time there's like nothing happening in the stock market is when it's still, because there's no momentum, there's no activity, there's no movement. But as long as the stock market is moving, it's not a matter of whether it's going up or down. It's a matter of where you have positioned yourself relative to where it's moving. You know, people can make money as stocks are going down.
Right, okay.
People can make money as stocks are going up. So it's not a matter of what direction it's moving. It's a matter of where you position yourself. So regardless of what's happening around you, if you position yourself from an attitudinal perspective to see the good in it and see where the opportunity is in it, then it becomes either less of a struggle or not a struggle at all.
Okay.
So we've been talking about something as simple as changes in schedule. You set up an agenda and your whole calendar changes. People don't call for their appointments on time. They don't show up on time. They cancel.
Right.
Something becomes more urgent than what you thought you were going to do today, and that throws you completely out of kilter. That's a choice that you're making to allow that to throw you off your game. And so if you understand that and you make a commitment to adopt a mindset that I'm going to allow things to roll out the way they're supposed to, and my goal is to figure out, like, what's this new challenge? What am I going to do with this?
Okay.
You know, think about this. I use this as an example too, because back when I was in high school and college, I was a paramedic, and we never knew when a call was going to come in. We just knew that we were supposed to be there to respond to the call. Now, if we were thrown off our game by the fact that the light went off and the siren went off and we're supposed to jump in the ambulance and be somewhere, that's how most people are reacting in life, is that they're thrown off when something happens. Even though they know that everything's not going to go perfect in their lives. We know that we're going to get the call. Our goal is to be the ones that are level-headed enough to respond and serve. And when you're not responding and serving yourself by making it a priority not to get thrown off your game, you are putting yourself in a position of not experiencing the kind of life that you're capable of.
Gotcha. So I like what you said about allowing things to happen. I'm still learning how to do that, but it reminds me of a really cool quote that I found from Henry W. Longfellow. And that quote is, "The best thing one can do when it rains is to let it rain." And I know, Renee, you and I talk a lot
Where do
about...
you get these great quotes?
Yeah, I know you and I talk a lot about allowing, but that's going to be a really new concept for a lot of people who are listening. So is there any baby step for somebody who's just stepping on the path to personal development, who's just started their journey to enlightenment? Are there any kind of first steps that you might be able to offer to help people learn how to allow, to help people, figure out how to set their sail against the wind?
Well, I think it really goes back to understanding that something is happening. And what came up when Glenn was talking is when you start to resist something, you have a choice between resistance and resilience.
Ooh, I'm writing that down.
So when you feel yourself, moving in that direction where you're feeling worse and it's starting to build and you're listening to rumor mills or you're getting caught up in the drama and you kind of get pulled into a crowd that's going in the wrong direction. They're not solving problems, they're creating problems. The first step is to realize, do I really feel good about what's happening around me? What is my part in that? Creating that gap, that space for just a second, where you're not engaged, that's allowance. Allowance begins in that spot where you step back. You don't have to defend a position, you don't have to have an opinion, you don't have to support someone going in a direction that you really don't care. If you think about it, it's like, this is not my issue. But there's something else in my life that feels that way, so I'm just going to jump on in and get all my angst out. The allowance is just the fact that you're going to allow yourself just a little bit of space to decide what would make you feel better. You don't have to determine the right and the wrong, which is what it felt like to me when you asked that question. What's right and what's wrong? You don't have to be wrong. You just have to choose what feels better for you.
I love that. I love that. And I think that really encapsulates everything that this podcast is about. It's about, how do I feel good in every minute of every day? I know for me, this has been a really incredible, amazing journey from where I was to where I am. And there's been a lot of times when I was, in struggle, and I have to choose sometimes minute by minute, choose better. Sometimes you're way down at, this deep level, and it's going to be really hard to get all the way up here. So what you do is you just go, okay, I'm at this level. How do I choose better for just the next minute? What's just the next level up? How do I feel good in this minute? Great, now I'm here. How do I feel good in this minute? How do I feel good? How do I choose better? How do I feel good? Wait. Okay, never mind. You know what I'm trying to say. How do I feel good? How do I choose better? That's what I meant.
But see what you said there, though. You had to develop a consciousness of the ability to make that choice.
Right.
Most of us, because we are in victim mentality, feel that we don't have a choice. We are subject to our circumstances. We have to settle for the hand we've been dealt.
Yeah.
Someone that understands how to improve on their circumstances is happy to accept whatever hand, because the challenge is then, what can I do with that? How can I work with it? So it's a matter of attitude. And that's why we keep talking. Everything returns to mindset.
Everything comes back to mindset.
Yeah.
It does, because that's what makes all the difference in the world.
But let's be clear about what
starts.
Yeah, let's be clear about what mindset is, because that's a word we hear a lot, but we really don't stop to think about it. For me, mindset is my choice and how I choose to see the things and circumstances, opportunities, tragedy, whatever, the life events. If you looked at most life events, you would find that there's some good in it, and there's some perception of, there's some things that you perceive as being good, and there's some things you perceive as being bad. But if you were to look at them, nothing is ever completely bad. We choose to see the bad, and we choose to embrace fear. We choose to see the bad in things before we see the good in it.
I think that's how we've been conditioned, though, isn't it?
We absolutely have been conditioned that way. But that's why it's important to be willing to shift. So we develop a mindset by virtue of what we are taught in our experience in society and in life, etc. But we have the ability, when we find that that mindset isn't serving us, to shift into a different way of thinking. And frankly, that's what personal development is all about.
Right.
Learning how to see things through a different scope if the one that you're currently looking through isn't serving you. So if you have been someone who has not achieved great success in your mind, if you've been someone who's been inclined to be overreactive to circumstances, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not talking about you in particular, but we'll use you as an example.
You know what, though?
A very good example.
I own it.
No, but seriously, if you look at it from that, if you've been in that mode and you now are conscious of, man, why do I always allow myself? Why do I let him get me, out of control all the time? Because that's usually where it starts for people. Is some circumstance, something, some person sets them off.
Right.
Either anger, or fear,
or frustration,
or whatever it might be. So you have to step back and say to yourself, why does that happen? Why do I allow that to happen? And then you start to become conscious of the fact that you're doing it, and hopefully you'll find the answer by exploring what are some, like Renee said previously, what are some other responses I could have to that circumstance? What could I choose to do? Mm-hmm. Somebody says something negative about you. You could choose to be upset and confront them, or you could choose to let it roll off your back and let them be, because usually when people talk about you behind your back or otherwise, it's more a reflection on them than it is on you, until someone sees how you respond.
Right.
Well, and that's really what allowance is you make your own choices from wherever you are. And if you're at the lower end of the emotional scale, if you're depressed and fearful and full of anxiety, it's really difficult to know anything better. But if you allow yourself to entertain the idea that there might be something, that's just another place on the continuum. And like you said, we've learned to judge things. We judge a lot of things, and most of it is still unconscious, even for people that have a consciousness about what's happening. And in that space, if we can just step back and realize that no thing exists that doesn't have an opposite.
Right.
A piece of paper has a top and a bottom, a left and a right, a
front
back
and
and a
back,
front.
right.
You can't take one of these away and the other exist. So judging whether it's good or bad, if you could put that into a perspective of allowance, is how far will I allow myself to see this as different? I always tell people it's just a change in perspective by 1 degree. Just entertain the idea that it's not anxiety, that it's something just a little different than anxiety, and you can't put your name, a name to it. You don't know what it is, and it doesn't really matter as long as you entertain the idea.
I like that.
You just allow the possibility to stay for as long as it can.
I like that.
And sometimes, you are using the, gradations. Sometimes you just stay here. You get through this moment, and then something comes up and you choose to stay right there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move, but you're in a better place than you were 2 minutes ago.
I like that. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Can I make a comment
Yes,
here also?
please do.
I'm thinking to myself as we're talking about all this mindset and attitude adjustment and things, that the big missing link for most people is that they don't know what to do to adopt the new mindset. They don't know how to find out what the mindset should be or is out there for them. And again, that's why personal development becomes so important. Reading books.
All these books on the
That's
table.
Right. Listening to audio. If you're in the car listening to something that's teaching you how to be better equipped to face circumstances that you're going to encounter in life, then when someone cuts you off in traffic, you're not even aware of it because you're learning something that's going to make you better at who you are when you get to your destination. So if you're wondering how to develop the mindset changes that we're talking about, it comes from taking the time to engage in self-education.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you should also, you might want to tell people to give the email address out and
Okay.
let them ask you, like, what book should I read?
Okay.
Where should I get started on a mindset shift?
That is a great idea. So for those of you listening, and I'll say it, for those of you watching, Melissa just put it on the screen for us. If you have questions about what we've been talking about, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at feelgood@elementalabundance.com. You can also find me across all social media platforms at Mental Dancing. The thing about struggle, what we want to leave you with this evening, is that it's just what is. It doesn't have to be a struggle unless you label it a struggle. You could choose to react to it, or you could mind the gap. You could mind the gap, take a breath, and ask yourself, what choice can I make in this moment? And in that moment, you can choose to feel better. You can choose to take a moment to go, this isn't really a struggle. What this is the universe offering me an opportunity to discover who I really am and who I want to be. So with that as our closing, I want to thank you so much for watching and for listening tonight. I'm Mia Zachary. This is Elemental Abundance. This is a series of casual conversations with my friends and acquaintances about quantum thinking and about how to create a life you love using the laws of the universe. I hope that you listened to the messages and not necessarily to the messengers, but if you like the messengers, we'll be on the air every week, every Wednesday, talking about elemental abundance. So until next time, I wish you joy.